I'm joined by two guests. I'm joined by Anid Lawi, and Taylor Jones. Anid, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing, Glove?
Faring a little bit. What have you been up to during this pandemic?
I think very similar to basically everyone else, trying to stay indoors, keep everyone safe, and yeah, I mean, just content, the hunt for content to fill the time. That's really the struggle.
Any particular content that's been filling the time?
Well, I just actually spent an hour instead of working watching a really great lecture from MIT on the latest in fusion technology. And
Okay,
things are
nerd.
looking promising, guys. No, things are looking dead ass promising.
Boo.
I'm not even joking. All right. This is
isn't
another
that type of
convo, but this
podcast,
was
isn't it?
seriously interesting shit that I want to discuss. But anyway, that's how I've been filling some of my content time.
All right, Taylor, what have you been doing? More MIT lectures for you as well?
I guess just rolling my eyes at a nid. No. I've been playing a lot of RuneScape.
Oh yeah, that's been a big one.
Been working a lot.
How
More than I
many-
did before all of this, actually.
Turns
That's
out
the
working
real
from home.
scam.
Yeah, huge dub for the company, huge L for the workers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've finally watched the 2 episodes of the Jordan documentary because again,
Oh, nice.
so good, absolutely, like
Yeah.
greatly entertained. Also, this is like a part of basketball I know nothing about really, other than names. So I've been getting all the details and going down fun internet rabbit holes.
Yeah. That's like an era of sports altogether that like is gonna have its own book in history.
Yeah, definitely. I'm fascinated by Scottie Pippen. I'm like excited to learn more about his life.
So dogged. He got so dogged.
So just I like
It's
went
so
on this
tough.
whole like financial literacy spiel when I was watching it with my housemates. So I'm really pumped to like get more into him.
Nice. Yeah, I can't wait for the new episodes. It's gonna be a good couple of weeks.
All right, but back to what we're actually talking about, the sport we would like to talk about today. So today we'll be doing a segment I would like to name Hot Takes. And the way the segment works is you will be pitching us a football-related hot take and defending it and trying to sell it to us. And at the end, we will decide which one of our hot takes we would like to implement in football with if we had all the means and no barriers and no FIFA. Basically, if the world was perfect.
No FIFA being the key here.
So yeah, if the world was perfect, what football hot take would you like to implement? Taylor, would you like to start us off?
Okay, I have 2. I don't know if I should go with my I feel like one is more adoptable and the other is more controversial. Which one should I start with?
I think you should start with the more controversial one.
The more controversial one? Okay.
I
So,
like it.
I think that top 4 teams, or just teams that qualify for the Champions or Europa League, should not be allowed to play in like whatever their equivalent of the FA Cup or the League Cup is.
Okay. Why is that?
So I think it solves a couple of problems. First of all, I think it's boring to see. I mean, I watch the Premier League mostly. It's kind of disheartening to like watch a cup game when it's like, no offense, like but like Man City Watford, because you know, or like you knew kind of what the outcome would be in that situation,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not as exciting. Like I would be more
Wait,
likely.
so-
I would be more likely to tune into like a Watford Burnley.
So the cup we're
With a
talking about is
trophy
not
on
the
the
one where
line.
it's like everyone in like the country, where it's like even the little teams. It's just like the League Cup, where it's like literally you're playing the same exact teams that you would otherwise would have, which is I'm talking like difference between Carabao Cup and like the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Like which one would you want to eliminate?
if I had to eliminate one completely,
If you're in the Champions League, like which one are you not allowed to
I
participate
think
in?
both.
Both?
You're not allowed to
Whoa.
participate in either.
Jeez.
Yeah, so you
'Cause
get the
those small
Champions League, or
teams
you
that they
wait.
play
What
against
about
those
teams
big
in the
clubs,
Europa League?
Those are huge games.
I think
for those
also
clubs.
the Europa League, and here's one reason. One, I think it helps with like fixture congestion and like players being run into the ground. Because like when they talk about fixture congestion, yes, it is tough for Premier League sides and other international players, but it really is like the select elite tier of those leagues that are facing these concerns, and not people that are not going on international duty. And so I think one, it resolves some of those issues. Two, it makes those.
That's the one argument that makes sense.
Yeah,
It's
that
like, obviously reduce the load on like these players that are playing like 7 games in like 9 days sometimes. You're like, what the
Exactly.
hell?
Two, I think it would be more exciting to watch just because like someone else is gonna win a trophy, or you know what I?
That's a fair point as well. That's a fair point as well.
Like I hate to keep bringing up Burnley because I actually really do like Burnley. Like they play the way they want to, and like hats off to them. But it would be more exciting to see one of those teams compete for a trophy than like another Man U, Arsenal. Like, oh great, like another one.
It's been a
those
minute
teams-
since we won.
Yeah, I was gonna say those teams also use those cups as like, you know, like I don't know what is like kind of like, you know, the last little
They
bit of
put their
hope at the end of the
B teams
season.
out
Like,
there,
oh, at least we
too.
got this cup, you know, like at least we got some silverware this season.
Okay.
Yeah,
what-
that's like think about what Liverpool did this season with what was the team that beat them or tied them in the first?
Oh, and then
Oh,
they
when
had to
they
go
beat,
and
they
then
beat
go back.
and they
Were
like
they-
I think it was they playing Everton, and they like fielded all children essentially.
It was that
I'm not
one,
quite
but
sure
then
what
it was
the
the
fuck-
other.
No, there was another one where they had to
later.
go to a second leg
Yeah.
because they tied at the last minute, and then Liverpool murked them again.
But it's the fact that like Liverpool and other teams are treating these as like not real competitions.
That's
Okay.
also fair. That's because like usually the top 4 teams do not field their
Yeah.
best squad. At,
And
like,
it's also like I would feel better
unless the
if
manager's desperate though. If the manager's desperate for silver, which by the way Tottenham did this past
well.
season.
Okay, but okay,
Look,
I
we're
have
not allowed to talk about Tottenham this last season. We're
okay.
just
I
gonna
have a
forget
couple
that
of
happened.
questions though.
Okay.
Okay, one, I feel like when you remove like the biggest, if it's like a competition that's supposed to serve like the league, and then you remove like 6 of the competitors, I feel like there's an argument that can be made around the integrity of the competition. Of like, well, I mean, it's like, I don't know, like if in, like the NBA just like removed like the Warriors and like any decent team from like competitions, you're like, well, I mean, you won this, but you really didn't test yourself against what we're deciding is the best. What is the best in the league?
So because you're losing the like single round elimination aspect of like the contest, you kind of also lose some authority within like the league's like hierarchy is what you're saying?
No, because I guess I mean
Because like it's gonna all be now come down to the league and like the matches, because like the
yeah, but
tournament,
like
the
if
cool
you
thing is
remove
that
like
you
the
have
biggest
single
competition,
round
like
elimination.
winning the FA Cup, like right, if we Burnley won the FA Cup this year, right, it would mean so much more because of all the teams they would have gone through.
Yeah.
Whereas like if you remove like all
That's
the
true.
like 6 teams from there, there's like a giant extra. So it's like,
I kind of see
well,
what you're saying. So,
Okay.
here's like the competition
fair
that you
point.
removed.
So
What
like
if
the
it's
top
just
the top of
Champions
the
League,
top of
then?
the pack like loses its shine and its sheen if you take those tournaments away, because they're like separate now. Like you can judge 2 things separately.
Yeah, so like at that point,
That's fair.
like you should like have, I would say, and then they're like 2 different, like there's like 2 leagues within one. You have like the top 6 that are like doing their own thing, but then you can't really compare them. Like there's no chance for the like bottom, like everyone beneath them to like ever test their muscle against them.
Mm-hmm.
I
Like-
mean, they have the league to do that though.
Yeah, but the league is like a whole it's a year-long affair.
It's just one less metric, you know. It's like one less tally on the board. It's a small. It's a. I think it's not a huge setback
Yeah.
against your hot take here, but it's a consideration.
I think it would be more entertaining or more enjoyable.
I think so. I
also
very
think-
much agree.
Here's the most controversial part of this. I also think if we just say drop the whole positive fixture congestion aspect, it also opens up the top teams to create like a super league in addition to the Champions League and like
yeah,
the main
but like I feel like the
leagues.
Champions
always
League
trying
is
to see
already
that, though.
kind of a super league, you know?
Yeah, I know, but you've heard what they've said about.
Yeah, but it would be sick if like we got derbies of like
yeah.
the top 4 from each like club and like on a regular basis, like every weekend.
Yeah,
You'd
but
have,
then,
like,
but like
some
every
crazy
weekend, I feel like it
game.
would get so boring. Like,
I
what
don't
makes
think it would
derbies?
at all.
I really think it would. I just like the more.
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know. I would
There are
bet-
just so
'cause,
many matchups.
Glow, think about
I
how
would love
good,
to
like,
see.
really, at the end of the day, it's like, it's good food. You can never have too much. Like, at the end of the day, if you could
Comes
have
down to food with you.
incredible food every day, you would. It's just a lot of work.
I don't think those two things like kind
All right,
of.
no,
Like,
hear
the
me out
challenge-
here. If you could watch beautiful soccer, just like gorgeous football every day, I don't think you would take up the offer, especially. With
I think it
live-
would get quite old.
I also think that just the variety.
What's
you
a
get
week?
to see
Come
so
on.
many. You get to see like the different tactics that are popular.
All right,
in
Chloe,
each
I just want you to
different
realize you're
league.
arguing against less
See how they compare
incredible
against each
quality
other.
soccer here.
That's not what I'm arguing against. I'm just saying that we already kind of get that consistently with the Champions League and
but not
like,
enough.
all the. I think there's
It
a
would be hard
sufficient
to
amount
get
of it. I
more,
think there's
though.
already way too many games on the football calendar, and really wouldn't want to add any more to it. If anything, I want to take away.
Which is
Yeah.
why you get rid of the FA Cup and the League Cup.
But those
And then
without
they
the,
just
without
have
the big
one-
teams. Okay,
one
wait.
League
Here's a big
Cup.
argument, guys. Here's a big thing I think that like we should consider more longevity wise. Do those cups even like have anything that they can go off of, like in terms of marketing or like profitability, if those clubs don't participate?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like the smaller clubs, like when Man City comes to town, like that, they get so many of the gate receipts. They get so much money from that. And I think once you eliminate the big clubs, like the big showstopper, like also goes away, which actually, at least in this particular instance, does hurt the smaller clubs.
Yeah, I think, and also just like the cup itself needs to sell advertising money, and that's how they get like the winnings, and that's how they get the teams to actually participate.
And yeah, and that's how you distribute like the revenue from like the cup.
So there's
And like if
you-
you're
you'd
Coca-Cola,
have to
you're not trying to
rebrand.
advertise.
You'd have to rebrand these cups pretty significantly in order to like, I think, hold them in the same stature. I think
Yeah.
it would work the best in the UK because like if you excluded the top 4, like usually there's still some pretty good teams the rest of the way.
Yeah, but
And
like
if
if
you
you
did
do
that
that in France.
Glow immediately went to the same example.
Okay,
You're
that's
not in
fair.
France and not going to. I would.
This
That
hot take
in
is
10
based almost
seconds is like
exclusively off
cup
the
dead.
Premier League and the British system. So
Yeah, I do really like. I'm a big fan of finding ways to reduce fixture congestion, and I think this is.
This is a good, it's a good hot take in that department
Thank you.
because that's a huge issue. You're right.
Yeah, and then we're off to you. At least I don't have any
Yeah, you-
other questions in Taylor's hot take.
I like
He's
the hot
been-
take though. It was a good hot take.
thank you. He's been hyping this one up for like
Oh,
the
yeah,
last
okay,
couple
so-
of
No,
days.
he's been hyping, and I was just like, guys, I walked on this hot take like literally all day. So give it to us.
Okay,
We're
'cause
ready.
I wanted something that like I even felt kind of like almost a little hopped up about. But basically, my hot take is international, and I'm talking international soccer, so away from the club world. My idea, or rather my prerogative, would be to take the FIFA World Cup private and don't let the players get paid by the countries anymore and make it a completely like in-house FIFA event. And the big place where this is coming from, Glow, I think, which is where your thoughts I think are going to be interesting, is to like basically redistribute the wealth of the tournament away from just like the highest paying countries and those who can offer out the biggest bonuses. Because in effect, FIFA's the one that's dealing all the cash in the first place, right? They sell the advertisers, they get the stadium money, they can make even the beer sales out of the stadiums go to FIFA. So they have this giant pile of money.
and they obviously use a bunch of it to like run the tournament, and then obviously a ton of it goes to like paying out the winners when they win. So countries get like, I think up to like 38 million was the most recent payout, and then obviously they pay out the bonuses to the players, though there's no mandate that the countries have to do that, which is a big reason African countries kind of just take the money and dip, don't give anything to the players, and that's a big lack of participation on behalf of the nationals there. And on top of that, you let the club, like obviously like the countries are still gonna be able to like influence their like kind of standing in the World Cup more than just financially, because they have their own, you know, like skills development system, like they all have their youth development programs, they have their own club teams, like that's really what drives, you know, like player talent at the end of the day, except France, in which case you just poach all your players from Africa.
Oh, that.
Yeah, but like, I mean, like Germany and others, they have like, you know, like very robust programs that would obviously keep them relevant. They don't have to like convince these players who are already making millions of dollars, you know, like through their clubs. So basically, privatize the whole thing so that the countries no longer have any financial, like basically ties to the players, other than like maybe like some national cultural programs that they can institute. But the rest is handled through FIFA, and like that's it. That's the take.
Okay. Quick question to make sure I got it right. Like your idea, your proposal is that instead of like every country's FA distributing money to like its players as it sees fit, you want like FIFA to like get every like little coin that they make from the World Cup and then pay players directly.
Yeah, and like obviously it would work out to be like the winners of the final get the most, and then it scales down all the way to the qualifiers. But in effect, yes, it's like no longer is France going to be like, hey, we're going to pay you $2 million a game to go to the World Cup, and the player's like, cool, I'll do this, and then they sign them all up. It's going to be like, we have 23 slots. The coach obviously gets selected by the country, and then all of the payment just is completely external. Like the country doesn't really do anything beyond the selection process.
Okay, so my first question about this is, would FIFA also stop like giving, like if does it like completely stop giving money to the FAs? And if so, a lot of like football associations, from my knowledge, like depend on that money to like build pitches. I mean, there's like some asterisks there on like how effectively this is done, but like
yeah, I was gonna say, how much money are these people getting from FIFA to like build one pitch?
Yeah, but
like, I feel you there. Okay,
like,
so that would take an L. That would take a huge L. I think that I also, Glow, a big problem that I have with the distributions to FAs is that, you know, a lot of countries don't have the most reputable FAs and tend to just be giant laundering bags for rich. There's
officials. A lot of money washing going on, that's for sure. So I think that I like that.
There's been multiple instances of, I think, I don't want to get the country wrong. It's one. I think it's Cameroon. Okay, it's definitely Cameroon, because now I remember clearly. Cameroon's head official of the FA just took all of the wages from the players after they competed and came home. And like obviously now, if you're Cameroonian and you also could be French, you're probably going to go to France where they offer you millions of dollars to play. You know, and taking that away from the system, I think would just rebalance some things.
Yeah, I hear all of your points. And I'm just not confident in FIFA to execute this more effectively.
I would say I might know.
Given like the history of corruption, and like this would just open it up so much to, I feel like, blatant.
But it's already there, dude. Like think about what was the latest scandal? Like how many millions of dollars they had to bribe the officials, or they were bribed to like host the tournaments all over the place.
I don't know.
But I don't disagree.
I worry about
we're living in dreamland here, where
whatever
FIFA's
happened
not a
to
problem.
Sepp Blatter? What's he up to?
It's probably like in charge of something, sadly.
I don't know. I see what you mean, and I would like I don't know. I kind of feel like it might be slightly easier to like redeem FAs and all like put in structures that would help like guarantee player, or like maybe just like have a specific way to deal with player payment. But then I still think like FAs getting money is actually quite helpful. Yes, they do squander it a fair amount, but I'm with Taylor that maybe like putting it in the hands of like a giant organization that has proved to like, just
Be
not always
kind of
can be
evil.
consistently the most like reputable, or like just like has an affinity to like skirting the rules or bending the rules a little bit. I'm not sure how I feel about like giving them, now here you're in charge of like literally paying every single player.
Yeah.
Because I can see, I don't know, like I'm like now thinking of like how could a giant corporation, or well, they say they're not a corporation, but like a giant organization influence like even like things like player selection.
Yeah.
And
I mean, like, effectively, I'm imagining this work very similar. It's like a temporary NBA collective bargaining agreement, right? Where, like, hopefully in an ideal world, the players who participated in either maybe the qualifiers or some tournament, like, get a say in, like, approving this actual contract. I
Yeah,
understand
but
that
the
is a
NBA
literal
is, like,
dream.
Maybe 100 dudes.
yeah. And then I
I
feel
mean,
like
but
once
like,
you
think
get
about
to
it. The how many? What is it? 22 players times how many teams? It's not that many players.
yeah, but then it has to be, I feel like, well, will the collective agreement happen only amongst those who have qualified, or is
Or
it
maybe
just
it
like,
happens amongst the countries that are part of the FIFA. Like, I don't know how it happens, but like, just take the money away from the countries, and give it to the players in a way, but has to be redistributed through FIFA, obviously.
I mean, it would like be helpful to have like, for instance, U.S. women's paid significantly
Yes.
more.
Okay, Glow.
if it
So this
wasn't-
is another thing. Another big point that I wanted to bring up is like this would kind of allow for more public, like kind of, a public discussion or at least a more open view of the like
Wouldn't that be the opposite, though? 'Cause
of the laws
it's
that actually
currently-
compensate the players. Because then like you can like instead of each country
It would be
being like,
less
oh, we're going to do
open
this
if
and
it
we're going
was
to
a
do that.
single
Like even
corporation
now,
that was determining salaries. Like,
but I'm
There
saying
should
like
be
from the
decision
soccer
makers there, but-
world's perspective, the World Cup is a singular event hosted by FIFA, right? So it doesn't make sense for like all of the regulatory requirements to either be completely non-existent as it is for salaries, for wages, or like gender equality payments or otherwise, and it just makes it a free-for-all. So at least if you centralize it a little bit, right, you can start maybe improving some of these like far-flung practices that most countries are kind of, not adopting.
this is very strange because normally I'm very pro centralization.
I know.
And you are not.
Okay, I'm very pro-centralization in the sports world. Come on. That gave us the NFL, the NBA. We got Barclays Premier League. These are the best entertainment, like, companies in the world. Like, FIFA's doing a terrible... Or not doing... I don't know. They're doing a terrible job of living up to, like,
okay.
how these kind of, conglomerates are run now, I think. And if they step up and maybe take this step, it could lead to, like, a better World Cup. I think it's certainly making
I
it more
think there's
competitive.
something for sure. I agree. I think there's something. Well, I don't completely agree with everything you've said, but I think there's something to be said about having like a good collective, like, or like a good transparent way in which like money is being distributed to players. But I still maintain that like the proceeds of the World Cup should, like, some of the proceeds, whatever percentage is appropriate, should go to the countries, or like, and generally all FAs, because I think when there's some bad actors, but there's also some countries that do really like build. Again, I keep going back to like building pitches, but like that pitch in some country is like what a child's first experience of the sport is, and that even if they don't grow up to be big, but like having access to like the outside world and just being able to enjoy the sport is like worthwhile.
We can always have another soccer fan.
Yeah, and I think it can be a bit, maybe like not even centralized, maybe like a bit more segmented, but like in a definitive way.
Yeah. What I'm hearing is like we want more of a regulatory approach here.
I think we do the opposite. Go for a decentralized, unregulated approach and just pay the players in Bitcoin.
All right, cool.
As a financial advisor, I would endorse that strategy.
All right, so we're paying players in Bitcoin, and yeah, that's all I have to say about this particular.
And it's time for Glow's hot take.
Yeah, that's just, I mean, I don't really have anything to add to like. Yeah, I was like, yeah, I'll be cool with paying players in Bitcoin or any other form of crypto. Okay, so this is my hot take.
Let's hear it.
I think my first hot take is I think we should have transfer windows for coaches. Okay.
Ooh.
All right, so this is okay.
It's intriguing.
The way I'm imagining it is like think of like the transfer window would be like shorter than the regular window for players, so like maybe like 2 weeks or so, and it would be about like a month before the player window. So like you wouldn't have like a new coach coming in at the same time as players.
All right. And just to be clear, now it's basically a free for all, right? It's just no rules, do whatever. Whenever.
Yeah, you can like move coaches literally as soon as you can get a new coach anytime you want, as long as you can pay out their contract or they're available, etc. And you can fire them anytime as well.
Sweet. So if you're following the law, there's no soccer rules preventing you from hiring and firing coaches.
Yeah, you can just dip whenever.
Cool.
I have a question on how this functions. Does it mean you like literally are not allowed to sign anybody, or you're only allowed to like transition regimes during specific windows?
What do you mean? Like,
So
okay,
could my coach's contract end in 6 months? Am I allowed to sign somebody now, and then in 6 months he takes over? Or do I have to wait for the 6 months to be over?
I mean, you can like chat with them, but they just can't be an official member of your coaching staff. They can't take on any of their duties until like the same way like a player contract works, right? Like if it ends on like June. Yeah, if it ends on like June 30th, yes, you can like be in talks, or like you can talk to like the coach and you have like an agreement coming out.
You can hire any free agent, right?
Yeah, but like they can't
it's an extra coach on your team, and they can't take
Yeah, they can't start until like the end, like at the beginning of like each window, etc. Okay. This is why I think this is a good idea.
I want the background. Like, what are you trying to go for here?
Okay, so I have like a couple of reasons why I think this could actually be interesting. I think one of my problems is like I think we fire coaches far too quickly. I think like if you give them, if they're the same, like they're 2 player window transfer windows, you get 2 coach transfer windows. I think you give them half a season like on each end to actually implement their plan, because I do think it takes a little bit of a while for a coach to like, not every coach will hit the ground moving, but then you give them time to implement their strategy and their vision.
So you're saying coaches should get like a full year guarantee?
Not quite. At least half a season.
You could fire him between, or you could do a regime switch at like the January transfer window, right?
Exactly. Like at least they get at least half a season-ish.
Okay.
Vaguely. So you at least get half a season to work with the players. And the reason why I don't think that's particularly harmful is that if you realize in the middle of the season that this is really not working, you can get a new coach and then you still have half a season to like pull yourself up. So you still have like a significant amount of time.
I don't know, but what? Let's say you like realize it a couple weeks into the first half of the season.
Well,
and it's just not going to improve. Like January is a long way out at that point.
Well, this is why you should do better
live with
recruiting.
The decisions that you made.
Yeah, that's why you should do better recruiting. I think it would really actually encourage smarter recruiting as opposed to getting like any big name that pops up. Like what I was thinking, and like I'm a Man U fan, so like I was thinking in terms of Mourinho. Like if we knew we were like we couldn't fire him at any given time, I think we would have done like smarter recruiting. I think it becomes a part of like the strategy, especially knowing how much influence this coach like will have over your entire squad and how you perform, and in turn how much money you get. I think it would make like owners or like the footballing staff and the technical and the football directors actually think about like what coach will fit with their team, with their vision. I think it could encourage like more long-term planning.
Yeah, I think you definitely need some like there'd be a lot more like philosophical alignment between coaches and administration at the clubs, just because I feel like now so many coaches get fired because of personality clashes on a whim, like Conte and like all the other like, you know, more contentious one that's like, I feel like it's not soccer related sometimes.
Yeah.
And then I think when it is like soccer related, I think I like this idea a lot. I think like you at the end of the day, like the coaches really have to have some sort of accountability in a soccer system rather than just like a business system. And like, yeah, you like, I think you basically like have to make sure that like the business compatibility happens ahead of time because you're committing to someone for a longer time. But that way you commit or you allow the coach to basically coach, you know, he doesn't have to worry about, okay, do I have to manage the personal relationship with my GM for the remaining, like, for the next day because I might get fired? Instead,
Yeah.
he can focus on soccer for 6
Yeah.
months. And then, you know, and like, you know, if he did well, like, he doesn't have
Yeah,
to like,
exactly,
actually
like-
do talk the talk anymore or walk the walk. It's just like his soccer speaks for himself.
And then I think there's like
But
another
what if it's the
additional
exact
reason.
opposite? What if it just continues to be a train wreck?
But then you
I
get
mean,
the 6
like-
month window, you fire the dude, and boom.
Exactly.
you move
Like,
on.
I mean, like, I
You
feel like
should've
it
done
happens
this-
with players.
After
Like,
half a season, like your whole season could be.
well, I think you need to do, I mean, like, this coach has like supporting stuff, etc., etc. Okay, maybe. Okay, I want to say one other good reason, and I want to address your point, Taylor. I think one other good reason of having this system is that it would actually encourage like a diversity in coaches, because I think we have like a pool of like 30 like really renowned top coaches that just like circulate the like main football circuit, and like they just like go from place to place, but like if you have this, like, not any coach can move at any given amount of time for the right amount of money, I think people will actually start giving other like up and coming coaches like more chances. And then if those coaches get like half a season or a full season to like implement their football, we might see like a higher diversity in coaching.
I feel like the opposite trend is what we're seeing right now. Is it's not like the same old managers are being brought in, with the exception of like Mourinho and Ancelotti this year. I feel like the trend has definitely been going towards more like unproven, modern, like free-flowing, attacking football style coaches. Like
Okay, when was the last time
Who's the Dortmund coach? Julian Nagelsmann?
Julian Nagelsmann? No,
Yeah.
Nagelsmann is not Dortmund. Dortmund is.
Oh yeah, he's the Leipzig.
Yeah, but then like that's.
But I feel like that's the mold of coach that people want to see, like Pochettino.
But
2 or
we
3
could see
years
more
ago.
of those. Yeah, you could see more of those instead of like Julian Nagelsmann like every 5 years. You could get like a new exciting entry, possibly like every season.
Yeah.
Also, to your point, Taylor, maybe if like you like completely miscalculated your like vetting strategy and you like just things go to hell, I think you might be I feel like there might be like an addendum of like you can promote within, like, so somebody like from your academy system that's associated with
Oh,
you.
yeah, that makes sense. Oh, I like this idea. I like this idea a lot.
I don't know. I like the drama of it.
Of just like you're fired.
I like the memes that could accompany this.
It
I feel like
is.
we get super speculative about like how players are going to turn out, and I would like, because you know they're going to be there at least till the next transfer window, and I would like to see the same about like coaches, etc. We might get
I
more.
think that's
distinct.
fair.
I don't know. I'm a big fan of just like the drama of it all.
Yeah, I think I'm an advocate of anything that like makes the job more about the job. You know, like if you're making a rule where like coaches can now coach instead of do other things, that's good. And I think like the contract definitely allows you to not worry about like the more non-soccer things, and then you can just do soccer for 6 months. I think we'd see a lot of quality improvement in like just like coaching focus when they don't have to worry about like the GM or the media or whatever. They could just focus on their jobs.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like this presumes a certain type of managing or a certain type of ownership.
But I mean, I'm just talking on average. It happens, right? And if you can eliminate it, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, all right. We're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be back with our voting and more football chat. Welcome back, everybody. This is the part where we vote for the best hot take and decide which one is moving into full production in the football world. Taylor, can you remind us of your take?
My take is top 4 or Champions League and Europa League teams should not play in their FA Cup or League Cup equivalents.
Anit, what is your take?
So I had the hot take of redistributing the FIFA World Cup tournament money through the FIFA organization instead of the individual FAs and compensating the players individually rather than through their nations.
Right. And lastly, my hot take was to implement transfer windows for coaches as well. All right, so this is how this works. Before we move on, we move one of our hot takes into basically FIFA law immediately. We're going to vote on it, and you can't vote for your own. So you have to vote for one other hot take that you would like to see moved into the FIFA Hall of Fame.
Nice. Do we want to go like give a little reason why we like the hot take more?
Yeah.
Cool.
Definitely, yeah. Why don't you start us off?
All right, so I like Glow's hot take because I think that the aspect where coaches really get to be disassociated from, I think, the more non-soccer parts of the job that can kind of influence the course of their seasons. And I mean, a lot of coaches just get fired straight up over it, and it'd be cool to like see what would happen to coaching as like a concept, and like what kind of evolutions would happen if like they didn't have to worry about that anymore. It'd be interesting.
Okay. My vote is for Taylor's hot take, which I think has like the potential. I really like the argument of reducing the fixture congestion, which in turn means like better player health if they're not like playing a gazillion hours throughout the course of the season. So I like that benefit enough to pass it through. Where are you at, Tay?
My vote is for a NIDS so that it's a tie.
Taylor!
No, in all seriousness, I vote for Glow's plan. Because...
All right, Glow's plan is moving on, kids. Watch out. Coming to a FIFA law book next to you. All coaches will have player windows.
That'd be pretty
Guys,
cool.
this was some really hot takes. Like,
I think
really
owners
good and
should
well
also
thought
have
out.
transfer windows.
Yeah, that was fun.
It's the natural extension.
What is?
You
What
should
is
only be able to buy and sell a club.
Yeah, guys, I was like really impressed by everybody's hot take and actually well thought out. So thanks. Yeah, I'm really pleased.
Thanks for inviting us on, Glow.
Yeah,
All right.
this has been fun.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. This was an absolutely lovely time. And yeah, anything else anyone wanted to mention before we sign off?
No, I need, once you get these meeting notes put together.
Thanks for having us on, Glow. It was a ton of fun.
All right. We'll talk to you guys, I'm sure, in future episodes. So thanks,
Sounds
everyone, for
Stay
tuning
safe.
in today. Stay safe. Get in touch. We're at asides.football@gmail.com. We're on the Instagrams, the Twitters at Football Asides. And tell your friends. And we're on iTunes. And we're literally everywhere you can listen a podcast.